Good morning, friends and enemies. In today's video, we will be going through and ranking every fantasy relevant wide receiver for week 8 as a sit, a start, or a flex for your lineups, as we do every single Thursday. If you want to see this going forward, make sure you subscribe. We did the running back version yesterday. Every single Wednesday, that goes live as well. All right. So we're going to go game by game, every single game, every single player. For this video in particular, we're going to do something a little bit different to start out. All right. I want to talk through a trade that I'm mulling over in one of my leagues. If you don't care, if you don't want the context behind it, if you don't give a shit about my leagues or my trades, totally understandable. I wouldn't either. We will have the time listed right here as well as below for each matchup that you can just jump to the rankings if you want to. But if you do care, I would love y'all's feedback and opinion on what you think of this trade for my team. Also, my name is Nick if you're new here. All right. I love you. I'm going to give you a smooch at the end of the video if you hang around long enough. Let's get into this trade and then the rankings. All right. I'm going to give you as much context behind this league and this trade so that we can have a healthy discourse and discussion about that. All right. This is your idiot league mates. This is the league within the BDGE office, BDGE, Snapback. We're competing against each other. A lot of you guys are probably subscribed to that YouTube channel that follows the league throughout the year. If you're not, we'll link that down below for you to go subscribe. Now, this is my team. I'm Uncle Stain. We are 5-2 right now. Right here, we have the second most points in the league. Only Jack has more than me. Now, it's a little bit of a unique league in the fact that it's 12 teams and we split up divisions. So we basically have rivals where it's 4 teams in each division. So the way the playoffs work is it's straight up the top 2 teams in each division make the playoffs. All right. It's not if you're in 5th place out of all 12 teams, you make it. You just need to be top 2 in your division at the end of the 14, 13, whatever regular season weeks in order to make the playoffs. The first 3 weeks of the season, you play your other 3 division mates. The last 3 weeks of the season, you play your other 3 division mates. So it gets scrappy within the division. Now, the trade on the table for me right now is from JMO, who's first in our division right now. So this would be an interdivision trade. He's got me in record. He's 6-1 somehow with 150, 200 fewer points than me. The trade we have on the table is this. I would receive Puka and Troy Franklin. I would be giving up DeAndre Swift, George Pickens, Brian Thomas Jr., and Kyle Monangai. The league settings, it's full PPR for all positions and super flex. Start 3 wide receivers. So receivers are important because you have to start 3 of them, and then we have a flex on top of that. And because it's PPR, you know, you need depth, you need receivers, you need all that, whatever. So in a raw vacuum, I get Puka, one of the best assets in fantasy. After the bye, he's expected to be healthy. I'm giving up a lot of players, obviously. Swift, Pickens, BTJ, Kyle Monangai, all these guys. It's like half my team. This is the squadron on paper. My quarterbacks are fine. Don't worry about this. This week, I'm going to get my ass kicked because I have all my quarterbacks on bye and everyone's fucking dead. Doesn't matter. Going to end up getting an L this week, but we're talking about long-term here. My quarterbacks are good. We got Stafford. We got Purdy when he comes back. We got Trevor Lawrence. Picked up Marcus Mariota for this week. So I'm not worried about quarterbacks. At running back, we have Devon Achane. And this is where one of the problems comes in. My other running backs are Swift and Monangai. All right. So I got the Chicago backfield. Swift has been awesome. I have Rico Dowdle and Chuba. So I have 2 like headache ass backfields right now where I have the entirety of Chicago. I got the entirety of Carolina behind Devon Achane. Wide receivers, I got Jamar Chase. I got George Pickens. I got BTJ. We have a little bit of depth behind him, Juwan Jennings and Romeo Doubs. I still believe in Juwan Jennings when he gets right, he gets healthy, and Brock Purdy's back on the field. So I don't mind having him as my 4 or 5. Doubs, I feel like, is a pretty good one as well. And then we got Laporte at tight end. So overall, I have like a sound team right now that puts up a high floor. We have a lot of guys with a high ceiling. Like Chase gets a ceiling back now with Joe Flacco. This trade would allow me to get Puka without giving up my top 2 assets in Achane and Chase, which is sexy. However, again, like this would destroy my depth. I'd be running out Chase and Puka on a weekly basis pretty much as my wide receiver 1 and 2. But at wide receiver 3, it would be one, like I get Troy Franklin back. So I'd be choosing between Juwan Jennings, Troy Franklin, and Romeo Doubs as my wide receiver 3. And then my RB2 would go down from Swift to Rico or Chuba Hubbard, like pick your poison. And then for my flex, I would again have to cycle through. Do I want a second Carolina running back in here? Or do I want like Dobbs as the flex or something like that? Obviously, I could always hit the waiver wire and see what I can get there. But that's like the conundrum I'm having. It's like, do I go with that 1-2 punch in Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua? I'll tell you my thinking right now. Giving up these assets, it's a lot, obviously. Swift and Monangai do feel like they're going to turn into a headache eventually in that backfield. I know Swift has looked as good as he possibly can over the last 2 weeks, and that Chicago run game is not one I want to divest out of right now. But again, I do think like there will be games where it's like a 50-50 snap share right now between the two of them, 55-45. So Swift will have some floor games, I think. Pickens is awesome. I'm kind of looking at him now as like T. Higgins from last year, where he's an awesome wide receiver too, but he's obviously not going to be Pickens from weeks 3, 4, 5 when CeeDee Lamb is back and healthy. BTJ is obviously a fucking nightmare at this moment. They had their bye. I don't know what's going on with his shoulder injury either. He might not miss time. Like there might be something after the bye with him, but I almost don't want to stick around to find out. So it's a lot of depth in a league where you do need depth. You need depth at wide receiver. Now, there's one thing that makes me really want to make this trade, and there's one thing that makes me not want to make this trade. The thing that makes me want to make this trade is Jack's team, the only team that's ahead of me in points for, is a fucking powerhouse. One, he plays me this week. He's going to get another win. He has Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, and Bijan Robinson on the same team. In a league where people went really wide receiver heavy because it's deep wide receiver starting rosters, plus it's super flex, so quarterbacks go off really, really heavy. He zigged when everyone zagged and went with Bijan, C-Mac, Jonathan Taylor as his first 3-round picks. And that obviously worked to perfection. Those are arguably the 3 best assets in all of fantasy football right now. So he's got a monster powerhouse team where like, if anyone's going to beat him in this league, it's got to be a one-off week where the other team just goes nuclear. And I'm trying to match him. Like I'm trying to do the wide receiver version of what he has in the running back version. Like Chase and Puka together, and I have Achane is kind of almost equal to a Bijan, JT, C-Mac trio. He also has Rashee Rice, which is a problem. But the rest of his team, like the bottom half of his roster, Cam Ward, Ingram, like Kendrick Bourne, can be taken advantage of. So we'd have similar teams in that we have like really strong top heavy assets and then a bunch of shitty guys in the flex spots. Although I do think my QB2 spot is a lot better, and I like Laporta over Ingram, and I do think my wide receiver 3 of either Dobbs or Jennings would be a lot better than Kendrick Bourne. Regardless, though, this is one of those moves where in the offseason, it's like you hear team within the same division of another powerhouse team. It's like, we signed this guy specifically to like, we signed Jalen Ramsey to stop Jamar Chase. Obviously, that didn't fucking work out, but this is one of those moves where I'm like thinking long term. The other thing with like a DeAndre Swift is their matchups in the playoffs. Like Chicago's schedule gets terrible down the stretch. He'll have some really good games over the next 3 weeks, and it's going to hurt not to have them. Baltimore, Cincinnati, New York. But starting in week 13, when like the fantasy playoffs really hit, he's at Philly, at Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, at San Francisco. Like really tough run out there. So I'm almost trying to get ahead of things there. Now, the reason I don't want to make this trade is while JMO is 6-1, his team is an atrocity right now. He drafted Malik Neighbors out for the season. He drafted James Conner and Trey Benson out, obviously. And then he's got Puka. But this is his starting roster right now. Herbert, Jordan Mason, Kareem Hunt, Chris Olave, Matthew Golden, Alec Pierce, Tucker Kraft, Troy Franklin, Jordan Love. And it's not like his bench gets any better. He's got Kenneth Walker, but obviously he's kind of been a bust this year. So JMO's, his team looked awesome in the beginning of the year when he didn't have all those injuries, but obviously it's just completely teetered out. And he's won a bunch of games by like 2 points, like very, very lucky. That's why he's 6-1. My hesitation here is while I want to get Puka on my team, the way our divisions are set up, it's like if I just continue to let JMO roll out that shithole of a roster he has, I'm going to catch him. But if I give him all this depth, if I give him Swift and Pickens and BTJ, that does shore up his roster. And now he once again has like a semi-complete team. You know, at wide receiver, he'll have Pickens, Olave, BTJ, which is a nice 1-2-3 punch. At running back, he'll have Swift, Jordan Mason, and then Kenneth Walker to choose from. He's got 2 good quarterbacks in Herbert and Love, and then he's got Kraft at tight end. So it's almost like I'm not thinking about my team as much as I am making sure that if JMO continues to roll out this roster, I almost guarantee myself a playoff spot. Because I feel good about where I'm at. Like I'm 2 games above Tony here. But Tony has a strong team. I do have the tiebreakers. I'm technically 3 games above, but anything can happen in fantasy, you know? So I'm kind of up in the air. It's like, do I go for the best asset in fantasy? I do have Stafford. It would be cool to grab Puka along with it. Like if Chuba was out for the year, this would be a no-brainer because I'd have a strong-ass RB2 in Rico Dowdle. I'm worried about having this nightmare of choosing between Rico Dowdle and Chuba on a weekly basis. However, now I'm going to have to do that if I keep this lineup with both the Chicago backfield and the Carolina backfield right now. So I don't know, man. As you can see, my brain is absolutely twisted. That was all the context. The major pros, I fucking get Puka Nacua. I get to double him up with Stafford. I get to double him up with Jamar Chase. And I might have a team that could compete with Jack when or if we play each other in the playoffs. The cons are I give up a shitload of depth. I allow JMO's team to be decent or okay again, which makes it tougher to catch him overall. But I do think a lot of the players that I'd be giving up are a little bit risky right now. Like it feels like I'm kind of selling some of them at their height. Pickens was awesome with CeeDee Lamb out. He's still good, but he's not elite, obviously. Swift in the Bears backfield, I expect worse games going forward. I expect a kind of a nightmare of a committee to figure out, although he's looked great. So I don't know. That was long, very long-winded. You guys tell me what you think. I want as much feedback, as much thoughts around that, given the context of everything. Y'all let me know. I don't know. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Thursday Night Football, Minnesota at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Vikings are 3.5-point underdogs. Carson Wentz will start in this game, 44.5-point total. We'll check the practice reports right quick. We have Hassan Haskins as a DNP, so he'll be out. Christian Darrisaw is now a DNP on Wednesday. That could be a questionable decision for him. Joe Alt does look like he's trending towards playing limited. I believe Trey Pipkins will also be back, limited across the board. So some much needed help on the offensive line for the Chargers. Jefferson, yeah, tough matchup against the Chargers secondary, pretty good, but he is Justin Jefferson, and we're not sitting him. For the Chargers, Ladd McConkey's been hot lately. He's now strung together back-to-back pretty good weeks. This is a Vikings secondary that we saw get had against Philadelphia last week, but I think ultimately they're still above average, though they hadn't really played a ton of tough matchups up to this point in the season. So I do think Herbert can do his thing against them, and I don't think they're going to have a ton of success on the ground with Kamani Vidal leading them. So I think both teams are probably going to have to pass the ball a decent amount here. So Ladd McConkey, I'm going to throw him into the feels good category. Jordan Addison, I mean, he's been fucking lights out. He's been proper, as the English would say, since he's come back. He's playing some of the best ball of his career right now. I think all of last year he had 2 100-yard receiving games. And so far in 3 games this year, he has 2. He's already matched that total. So I'm just going to ride the hot hand with Jordan Addison despite a pretty difficult matchup here. Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson, I'm going to throw both of them into the, that should be a dub flex category for me. Keenan Allen, and I mean, both of them are liable to go off on any given week right now. So, you know, if you're playing fantasy, you know how difficult it is to decide between the 3 of these guys. But Ladd McConkey has the hot hand right now. Quentin Johnson might be still working back from that hamstring injury and could be why he's kind of slowly getting acclimated back into the offense. And Keenan Allen just had a huge game last week, but, you know, who knows if that's going to continue. Overall, you just have a lot of wide receivers that you feel pretty good about starting this week. Next game up, we got Buffalo at Carolina. The Panthers are 7-point underdogs, 46.5-point total here. Andy Dalton will be starting this week, which makes me feel good about Teteroa McMillan. He's going to be at the top of this tier here. Khalil Shakir, I think, is a dub flex. His line is pretty high, 48.5 receiving yards, 4.5 receptions. I think this is going to be a really tough game for Keon Coleman, which has been the case all year. He's just been really disappointing as a guy that could have possibly broken out as a sophomore receiver. His separation is okay. It doesn't feel like Josh Allen really trusts him anymore, to be honest with you. And J.C. Horn has just been a lockdown cornerback on the outside up to this point in the season. 2 interceptions last week. He just looks like he is smothering receivers. And since Keon Coleman plays outside, mainly that is probably going to be a lot of J.C. Horn smother action there. So he's going to be in the shaky flex category. Leggett coming off the big game, got some chemistry going with Andy Dalton, but I'm still looking at him as a pretty shaky flex play. That was his only good game of the year. I think it was his first game all year where he's gotten over 35 receiving yards. He has as many games over 35 receiving yards as he does with negative receiving yards. So good to see Leggett bounce back. I love that dude. I cannot get enough of his like social media content, to be honest with you. Every time he's like in a video, it kind of like sucks me in and I gotta watch it. Sorry, I'm changing the size on you in real time. But yeah, I'm not really buying the dip here. Jalen Coker, yeah, until we see him run more routes here, we can't really put him into our lineup. He is definitely still someone I'm holding on to, though. Chicago at Baltimore. We had Lamar Jackson return to practice yesterday. Let's check the practice reports if we have any DNPs. We do have Marlon Humphrey as a DNP in this one, illness, so we do expect him back. Chicago, I think they had a lot of guys kind of sitting out, but we expect DeAndre Swift to be back and fine. The one I'm really keeping my eye on in terms of pass catchers would be Cole Kmet. I do like Colston Loveland as a streaming option if Cole Kmet does sit. The rest of the Ravens, though, you got most people back to limited. Kyle Hamilton back to limited. Lamar Jackson, we are expecting to play. Roquan Smith was a full participant. So for the most part, they're going to get their defensive pieces back. If Lamar's playing, there's no way you're sitting Zay Flowers. So he's going to be feels good at the top of the category for me. Rome, despite 2 disappointing days, he is still the top guy in Chicago for me. He's a must start. And DJ Moore will be a shaky flex. He's just not getting it done this year. So as much as you want to talk yourself into him being a good player and a post-buy bump and all that kind of bullshit, we ain't here for it. Same thing with Luther Burden. He's just not playing enough snaps to even come close to your lineup. I do like the matchup for the Ravens passing game, which does put Rashad Bateman into the shaky flex category. D-Hop just, again, does not play enough for me to want to throw him anywhere near my lineup. Moving to Cleveland at New England. We've got New England as 7-point favorites at home, 40.5-point total in this one. David Njoku's practicing in a limited capacity, and they said he's day-to-day, so it does look like he will be back in this one. And we did have Jerry Jeudy sit out practice, though. He was a DNP with a knee injury on Wednesday, so that is something to keep an eye on. Stephon Diggs, yet to get into the end zone this year, despite some really high yardage totals, and he does seem like the number one still for Drake May. Do have a tough matchup, as you can see. A lot of orange across the board, 24th in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers, 21st in EPA per pass allowed. And we'll get a tough matchup with Denzel Ward on the outside for the most part. But I still feel good about Stephon Diggs, throwing him into the dub flex category. Like, he should be in your lineup for the most part. Kayshon Boutte's been hot, but he's going to go into the shaky flex category. I think everybody else in this game is likely going to be the rather not. I will say, if Jerry Jeudy misses, I think you could make the case for Isaiah Bond kind of sneaking into that shaky flex category. But for right now, he's going to be rather not. Demario Douglas is going to be a rather not. Jerry Jeudy, don't love the matchup. I think he'll see a decent amount of Christian Gonzalez in this one, who is back at a full practice again, and he just has not put together a good game. So he's going to be a shaky flex for me if he does end up playing. Miami at Atlanta, next game up. We've got the Falcons as 7.5-point favorites. That's because the Miami Dolphins are just a fucking absolute travesty of a franchise right now. With Drake London, he's going to go into the must-start category. I know he kind of had a down game with Darnell Mooney finally coming back, but the Dolphins secondary is just, dead last in EPA per pass allowed to opposing offenses. So this is just the best matchup you could possibly have. Jalen Waddle, while he did also have a down game, the Cleveland game, I'm kind of wiping off the face with the bad weather and the passing game just not happening there. Jalen Waddle got a little bit banged up, but it does not look like he is in any danger of missing this game. More often than not, when Tyreek Hill's not playing, Jalen Waddle is going to have a monster game. So Waddle's going to be in my lineup for sure. Malik Washington's going to be a rather not for me, as he kind of always is. And also with Darren Waller out, I think Jalen Waddle, again, just continues to get more and more involved. So him and Devon Achane should probably eat through the air in this game, despite the Falcons' defense being very, very good. Moon is the other one where he came back, ran almost every route, finally healthy in this one, showed good chemistry with Michael Penix. Again, last year, basically a 1,000-yard receiver, and I really like Darnell Mooney. Honestly, I think he's going to be a dub flex for me. Definitely at the bottom of the category, but I would start him over all these guys, and wouldn't start him over most of them, but he definitely deserves to be in that purgatory between dub flex and shaky flex, and I think you could do a lot worse than Darnell Mooney right now with 6 teams on bye. Giants at Philadelphia. I don't even know what the fuck to do anymore with these guys. I don't know what to do with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They are literally just yo-yos, just playing whack-a-mole right now. Love the matchup, though. Jalen Hurts is actually playing some good ball. He's spinning the ball. A.J. Brown, little bit hot right now. Devontae Smith, really, really hot right now. I think just based on the matchup, we can go A.J. Brown feels good. We can go Devontae Smith in the dub flex category. And I think Wan'Dale Robinson, just the pure amount of targets that man is getting from Jackson Dart, he's also going to go into the dub flex categories. You could see the player props across the board. This is where that type of information really helps. You could see the tiers kind of breaking themselves out. And I'm not ranking these guys based off the player props. I'm ranking them based off how I feel and how I'm just ranking them myself. But you could see the tier here. Most of the guys in this tier are between 48 and 53 yards. Everyone here is, 55 to 65. And then these guys are starting to jump up the tiers a little bit. But this is where they belong for the most part. Just checking the practice reports real quick. We do have a lot of possibly impactful DMPs on Wednesday. And again, practice reports on Wednesday are very, very unreliable. Not that they're not true, but just in terms of predictiveness for guys missing games would be just, I wouldn't take too much into it, but you could always check out the practice reports yourself later on. A.J. Brown missed Wednesday with a hamstring injury. Brian Burns with a hip. Javon Holland with a knee injury. Adoree Jackson, concussion. Cam Jurgens with a knee injury as well as Paulson Adebo there. So some real actual, interesting names to keep an eye on for the injury report this week that could shake the matchup up a little bit. New York Jets at Cincinnati here. We've got the Bengals as 6.5-point favorites with Joe Flacco. Of course, Jamar Chase goes right into the must-start category. He looks like he is the highest line on the week at 88.5 with 7.5 receptions. T. Higgins, honestly, he's going into the feels good category. I know he doesn't get the looks like that Jamar Chase does, but I am curious to see what they do with Sauce Gardner, because Sauce Gardner has been shadowing the opposing ones for the year. I wonder if they just stick him onto Jamar Chase. I'd have to imagine the way that they look at the tape from last week and see what Jamar Chase did against the Steelers, that's what they're likely going to do, which should open up some shots for T. Higgins. So I'll have T. Higgins ranked pretty high in my rankings this week, which you can always get on bdge.co. If you're a Big Dog member, they are updated in real time all the time. So become a Big Dog member there. That's the only place to get them, the easiest way to get them, the cheapest way to get them. You can get 3 months of the Big Dog membership absolutely free if you go to our partner app or website, MGM, BetMGM, and you deposit $10 if you're a first timer, and you play any slip on there with code BDGE. So you deposit 10 on that page, you'll be able to put in code BDGE. That will get you a promo code sent to you in-app, the message in there that you can use on our site for 3 months free of the Big Dog membership, all right? And if you're looking for plays, you're looking for slips, you don't know what to bet on this week, you can follow me on the Pick'It app. It is like a social betting platform where you can follow me, you can follow your favorite creators, you can follow your friends. If you get all your friends on it and you sync each other's sports books and stuff, you can follow each other and see what everybody's taking. You could also track their bets throughout the last week, the last month, the last year, and see how they're doing and compare your record to their record, see how many units you're up, see how many units they're down, etc. And you could just straight from the Pick'It app, you can copy a bet slip. So if you go follow me at Nick Ercolano on Pick'It, just go down below. The Pick'It app is the first link in the description down below. Put in code BDGE when you download it. Free to download, don't need a credit card or anything like that. You will be able to follow my profile straight from there. If you see a bet you like that I took, just hit copy and you could automatically just place it right away. So sync your sports books on Pick'It. Use code BDGE. Use code BDGE everywhere, no matter what website you're on. Fucking Instacart, the McDonald's website, Amazon. BDG will get you something somewhere. From the Jets side, we don't know who the quarterback is. Doesn't matter. If Garrett Wilson's not playing, we don't play anybody in our lineup. Next up, we got San Francisco at Houston. Houston is 1.5 point favorites in this one, 41.5 point total. We do not have real information yet on the Niners side of things in terms of quarterback play. Brock Purdy is back to a limited practice. I don't think that guarantees him playing. They are playing on turf, which I think is probably a negative for the toe injury. It would not surprise me if they sat him out one more game. So I think he's 50-50 to play right now. Ricky Pearsall still sitting. That does not bode well for his outlook for week 8, unfortunately. So I think there's a good chance if you do have Ricky P, I would make alternative plans in this one. On the Texans side of things, we have Nico Collins going through the concussion protocol. A DNP on Wednesday does not look great for him suiting up. They did have a Monday night game, which gives him one less day to clear the protocol. And then Christian Kirk with the hamstring injury is a DNP. I would not expect him to suit up, which leaves a lot of targets available in Houston to be had. So if we're looking at San Francisco, Jawan Jennings actually has the highest odds of an anytime touchdown in this game. It is a very tough matchup against the Houston Texans. Pass defense, as you could see, all red across the board, 27th in fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position, 32nd in EPA per pass allowed to opponents, and dead last in opponents' points per game just scored overall as a team. If Purdy was playing, I would like Jawan Jennings a lot more. However, him and Mac Jones, he did lead the team in snaps. He led the team in targets. So I do think he's kind of getting back to form as their number one wide receiver, especially with Ricky P and Brandon Ayuk out right now. So I think you could do worse at flex, but he's definitely going to go into the shaky flex category, though I do like him a lot more than I think most of the guys in this tier. Then you have the two receivers for the Texans who were their day 2 picks, their second round pick, Jaden Higgins, and their third round pick, Jalen Noel. Based on what we saw last week, Jalen Noel had a really good game. He's going to run the slot routes, which I think is probably going to be a really highly targeted position for the Texans. So I like Noel. I like Dalton Schultz a lot as a streamer tight end position, assuming Nico Collins does not clear the protocol. If he does, then I think everybody takes a little bit of a notch down and he'll be the number one target, of course. If he doesn't, I think Higgins and Xavier Hutchinson will likely battle for 2 wide receiver snaps. I think they're going to just play on the outside, and I think it's really unpredictable to know who of those two are going to get targets. So honestly, even with both of those guys out, Higgins is going to be like, you can put him into the shaky flex category, but I'm probably going to throw him closer to the rather not. I don't even have Xavier Hutchinson in here. That's fine. Jalen Noel is definitely teetering between dub flex and shaky flex. I'm going to throw him into the shaky flex right now because, again, when I'm looking across the board at Keenan Allen and Wan'Dale Robinson and Stephon Diggs and Quentin Johnson, he's not that caliber of name, though I think he's a very good shaky flex option is the way I'm looking at him. On the flip side, Kendrick Bourne, we did see his first like real down week with Mac Jones. I don't think that makes him unplayable. I think he's had more good games with Mac Jones than not. If Brock Purdy plays, then we're probably out on Kendrick Bourne fully, but he's going to go into the shaky flex category for right now and probably fall somewhere in the middle of it. I still think him and Mac Jones have that chemistry. I just don't think, the ball just rolled that way last week for him. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. We've got Tampa Bay as 4.5-point favorites, 48.5-point total here. Ibuka somehow missed no time with the hamstring strain, got right out there, saw double-digit targets. Like, he's right into the must-start category. I'm not really concerned about his hamstring, I guess. So anything we knew about injuries was out the door with him. Chris Olave has been kind of a man possessed the last few weeks. I like the matchup against Tampa Bay, so I'd probably throw him into the must-start. He's close to it, but yeah, he's going to be in the feels-good category. I think he definitely deserves to be in your lineup. Rashid Shaheed has basically had like one good game this year. I know he's liable to break a big play anytime, but he's going to the shaky flex category for me. I really like Tez Johnson, man. Him and Baker have real chemistry. You got Mike Evans out. You got Chris Godwin already ruled out. You got Bucky Irving out for this one too. So they're going to need playmakers. I like Tez Johnson. I like Cade Otton a lot in this one. Shepard's going to be, he'll be at the end of the shaky flex tier. Tez Johnson, I'm going to throw into the shaky flex tier as well, but definitely towards the top. Like when I'm looking at this tier of guys, this is exactly who I'd be like deciding between. Juwan Johnson, Tez Johnson, Jalen Noel. Those are all guys that I like. They're definitely at the top of the shaky flex tier and can absolutely be in your lineup. This is a high scoring game, 48.5-point total against the Saints. Tez Johnson's a playmaker. He doesn't need to have a super high target number in order to like get home. He's shifty with the ball in his hands. He can make plays down the field. So I'll fucks with him a little bit. Dallas at Denver. We've got Dallas as 3.5-point underdogs on the road in Denver with a 50.5-point total. That's pretty damn high. Denver's defense is obviously awesome. Dallas's defense is obviously not awesome. CeeDee Lamb, yeah, it's going to be really hard. We don't know what they're going to do with Patrick Surtain. Does Patrick Surtain stay on the outside and play George Pickens? Does Patrick Surtain travel with CeeDee Lamb into the slot in the middle? Ultimately, I think they're both going to see a little bit of Patrick Surtain. I think CD will probably see a little bit more, but I don't, I'm not fucking sitting here telling anyone to sit CeeDee Lamb. So he's going to be in the must-start category. Cortland Sutton's teetering between must-start and feels good. I actually think based on the matchup against Dallas, they're such a soft defense, 50.5-point total. He is Bo Nix's top guy. He's going to go into the must-start category. George Pickens, does he feel good this week? I mean, not really against the Denver matchup, but like this offense is so fucking good right now that you simply cannot put George Pickens into a tier below the second tier right now. For the Denver Broncos secondary pass catchers, like I guess you can have Troy Franklin in the shaky flex category simply based on the matchup against Dallas. He like finally had a useful fantasy day last week because he caught like a tipped pass that was intended for Cortland Sutton in the back of the end zone. So like he kind of got home. It was fake getting home. And then Marvin Mims is going to go into the rather not category. Tennessee at Indianapolis. Let's check the practice reports on this one. We've got Josh Downs coming back to a limited practice, so it does look like he is trending towards playing in this one, which is good news. Jeffrey Simmons' hamstring is a DNP. L'Jarius Sneed with a DNP, so they might be without some of their key defenders here. Calvin Ridley still DNP with that hamstring strain. Kenny Moore still DNP with the Achilles. So assuming Josh Downs plays, I still think that leaves Michael Pittman in a really good flex category. Flex feels good. Honestly, I feel pretty good about Pittman. He's just been so consistent all year, and the matchup is great versus Tennessee. Josh Downs is going to go into the shaky flex category for sure. Alec Pierce, I just feel like anytime they're at full strength, he just takes such a secondary role despite, the good matchup and despite coming off of the good week. They are 14-point favorites, so I'd imagine this is going to be a game where Jonathan Taylor probably gets 25 to 30 carries. On the other side, Cam Ward, this is a good matchup against the Colts secondary, who is banged up. They've allowed the single most fantasy points to the wide receiver position because they score so many points, and then receivers just need to obviously just pile it on in garbage time. Even with Ridley out, impossible to trust any of these secondary wide receivers, man. Alec Ayumaner was cool in the beginning of the year, has really not put together any games. Shamir DK had a good game last week. Van Jefferson's kind of involved. Tyler Lockett just fucking asked for his release. So if I had to choose one, I would still choose Ayumaner because he's running every single route still, and he could still make a big play or catch a touchdown or, have a fantasy day kind of made on a single throw from Cam Ward. But the rest of them are just going into the rather not category. Green Bay at Pittsburgh. This is the Sunday night game. Aaron Rodgers playing Packers for the first time since leaving. You got DK Metcalf, 59.5 receiving yardage total, which is high. I have a hard time trusting this passing offense. He's using so many different weapons, all the tight ends. This is really their first matchup that Rodgers is going to get tested in and Pittsburgh is going to get tested in. So I'm a little bit more skeptical about what this passing offense is going to be what they're going to do. So I'm going to throw DK Metcalf into the dub flex tier. Definitely deserves to be in that like Quentin Johnson, Keenan Allen type of conversation, but I don't feel great about him this week is what I'll say. Romeo Dobbs, I wouldn't put him into the dub flex either. He's probably a shaky flex, but definitely a decent flex option for you. Matthew Golden at the bottom of the shaky flex tier, I think. I also think if you're out there and you've got the IR spot open, if you've got some luxury spots on your bench available, I think now would be an okay time to go pick up Jaden Reed too. I think his return is likely going to be around like week 10. And it's definitely a tricky receiver room to figure out once he is healthy. But I think Jaden Reed is talented enough that he should be stored on a roster right now. Because when he comes back weeks 10 through 15, I think he could be an asset for you, especially in weeks 12 and 14 when there are a lot of buys going on. Which honestly, I don't know if that's the Packers. No, the Packers had a week 5 bye, so he won't be in a bye. Last game, we got Washington at Kansas City. The Monday Night Football game. Kansas City 12.5-point favorites in this one. Marcus Mariota will be the starting quarterback for Washington. Rashee Rice, of course, is a must start. I think Worthy obviously takes a back seat with Rice there. He's a dub flex for me. I still feel pretty good about him. They still keep him really involved. The game script might get away again where they're not really passing the ball too much, but Mahomes is absolutely on fire in this one. The other side of the ball is a little bit tricky because we don't know any of the practice report information at this time of filming. We had Terry and Debo both miss last week. Dan Quinn said Terry is supposed to return to practice this week. Debo, I don't know if he re-aggravated his heel or whatever. So I don't know. If Terry plays, I think at this point he's missed so much time that he's going to be a shaky flex. It's a tough matchup for him. If Debo plays, then I'm probably going to throw him between the feels good and the dub flex category. But if Debo plays and Terry doesn't, then I'll move Debo up to the feels good category. If they both play, Debo will probably be in the dub flex category. Regardless, though, they got Marcus Mariota at quarterback, so I'm not projecting him to have a ton of passing yards against this Kansas City defense, who, as you can see, right across the board, just bottom 5 in fantasy points allowed to receivers, bottom 5 in EPA, bottom 5 in points per game allowed. If Debo and Terry both miss, I mean, you're looking at Chris Moore, Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, not Noah Brown, he's out too. Who's the fourth guy here? Fucking Spaghetti Anderson. Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to start any of those guys. If I had to choose one, it'd probably be Chris Moore as like a rather not shaky flex, but yeah, you're in deep shit if you got to start these wide receivers. All right, well, that's the wide receiver rankings video for week 8. As I promised, I'd give you big smoochie at the end of the video if you hung around until now. If you missed the running back version of this video and you want to watch it, that was live on the channel yesterday. Again, go download the MGM app. Use code BDGE when you deposit $10 or more. Play any slip on there, and you'll get access to our rankings for the next 3 months. Absolutely free. And download the Pickett app if you want to see the bets that I take this weekend. All right, love y'all. I'm out of here. See you tomorrow.